Hello and welcome to part 3 of our magical cue. We are going to mix things together, and today it is early morning, so you will probably notice the lighting change because I can see hints of pink sky out there. Looks like the sun's coming up as I speak. In the template I have my reverbs and I've got 6 stems ready to go. That's about the most I would expect to be able to break all these instruments down into, a maximum of 6 different stems. First step that I'm going to do is go through, label all the instruments because I was sort of throwing it together in the first couple of parts, colour code everything into hopefully 6 parts, and then we'll be able to go ahead and do the next step, which is a bit of EQ. What I've done now is labelled and coloured everything into pretty much 6 groups. I've grouped the Mosaic bass synth and the bass from BBC. I've grouped those together as a bass section so that the strings can be just the strings and the cello. If we want to separate them out into different stems, so we've got 1, 2. The melody is what I've decided is going to be the Glock and the harp, so that could be taken out. We've got the 3 sets of 2 pads and Eric Whittaker choir, they're going to be the pad section. Then we've got percussion and finally effects, they are the transition elements. I'm just going to have a listen through to this again now because I've muted the tenor trombones and the celeste, which I don't think I want, but I'm going to have a listen through and maybe put something back in. We'll see. So about half an hour has gone past, and what I've done is taken the trombones out, gotten rid of the celeste. We've gone to some BBC SO horns, doing a laid back kind of harmony. So it's a lazy, when you put it in context it works quite nicely. And they are automated. As the horns get higher in frequency, we bring them down a little bit in volume. You will start to hear them cut in now. So there's quite a bit of automation going on there. The other thing I have added is the Glock was dropping out in this middle section and at the end. So what I've done is put in Glock rolls to accompany what else is going on. So when we get to the end and you hear it all together, you'll be able to pick out all these little parts, I imagine. So what I'm going to do now is go through each of these tracks, solo them. I will be EQing, often taking out bottom end that I don't need, but also looking for any frequencies that I want to push a little bit, especially some of the top end. Often you want to bring out some of that high frequency character. If you don't want it, obviously we reduce it. So I'm going to go through each of these tracks and do that. At this point, I think I'm going to get rid of myself because I was in the way of showing the mixer previously when doing the next part. So what I've done is I've gone through and EQ'd each of the tracks on their own. I'm pretty happy with how it's sounding at the moment. And what we'll need to do next is set it up so that we're ready to record into these 6 stems. So I need to give these names, the reverbs, and we're going to give the stems names. Let me do that first because then things will make a bit more sense. On the plus side, I've now added coffee to the mix. Yum yum. Here's the labelling. I didn't know what the different parts were going to be before I started. That's why in the template, just label them as reverb 1 to 6 and stem 1 to 6, but I've labelled them strings bass, melody bass, percussion and effects. The same will be true for the stems. So that's why we colour code and group our instruments, because that informs what we're going to call our reverbs and stems. The next thing to do is make sure I'm not in the way again. What you'll see is the reverbs have already got Air Studio Hall ready to go, and they already go to bus 21 to 26, which is our stem. So if any reverb is coming out, it's going straight in here. Up till now, we've just been putting everything to the stereo out, which we now need to change. These now need to go to the correct stems. So they're nicely color coded for us. We've done it in the same order as they are top to bottom. So we know that this is the stem for the strings. We know these are going to go to bus 22. These are going to go to the melody. Then we've got the pads, the percussion, and the effects. So if I press play now, I shouldn't hear anything. No. If I put on input monitoring for each of the stems, I can now hear the different parts come through. So we know that's working. The bit that's missing is any reverbs I want. So remember, this reverb is going into, so reverb 1 is going into stem 1, but you can vary the amount that you send in. So if I want more for one instrument than another, that is where you change the send level, because we would go to reverb strings here and choose the amount that we want. So there you go, you can see we've now got reverb coming in, which is also being added to our stem. So you've got the original sound, goes straight to the stem. We've also got some of the signal going into the reverb, which also goes into the stem. So they combine and we get our final string stem ready to go. So I just need to go through each of the instruments, listen to what they sound like, add any reverbs, change any of the reverb settings if I think that's necessary. I might do it for the percussion and go to the actual percussion session. So the reverb set up here for the hall is the regular hall. For the percussion, I quite like the deep hall, and that actually changes the location relative to the mics. So I'll do that for the percussion. So I need to go through and set any reverbs that I want to stick it all together. I'll see you in a bit. Right, so I have now gone through and added varying amounts of reverb that I want for each of the instruments. I have kept in mind the maximum output volume because I know I will want to master this using Logic Mastering Assistant at the end. But the first thing to do is to get these stems recorded. So we take them out of input monitoring, put them into record, and all I'm going to do is now press the record button and we will watch as it creates the stems for us. So there we go, a magical cue. It is now Lovely blue sky outside, looking like a lovely day is about to be had. If you've watched this far, don't forget like and subscribe, always appreciated. You'll find out when I do more of these. I'll play it through for you now as a bit of an outro to put together everything we've done in the last 3 little composing sessions. I hope you found that fun. Have a go yourself and see you in the next one. Bye for now.